Здравствуйте, еще раз вас приветствую. Спасибо, что вы пришли. Спасибо огромное школе МакГаффина, потому что благодаря школе МакГаффина, собственно, наш фестиваль к третьему разу становится таким все более серьезным, настоящим фестивалем, потому что все-таки, что такое кинофестиваль, вникают, какие-то фильмы запускаются, показываются и смотрятся, а когда происходит какая-то реальная жизнь, какой-то реальный обмен опытом, эмоциями, впечатлениями. И благодаря киношколе МакГаффина мы имеем возможность проводить эти мастер-классы, мы имеем возможность приветствовать наших замечательных гостей, нашу замечательную Джею. У нас как бы весь фестиваль, весь мотив фестиваля такое противостояние, даже противостояние, но один из сюжетов фестиваля это некая ностальгия, некий взгляд в прошлое, фильм «Илья Саяса», автобиографический. И с одной стороны, а с другой стороны совершенно как бы новые фильмы, новые голоса, новые яркие таланты. И как раз идея этих мастер-классов, то, что у нас вот один мастер-класс признанного всем известного классика Йозефа Стейлинга, который состоится завтра, и с другой стороны, как такой другой полюс, мастер-класс молодого режиссера, который снял вот первый свой фильм, который вы только что увидели, который, на мой взгляд, является одним из самых интересных сегодня молодых американских режиссеров. И спасибо, что вы пришли, и надеюсь, что вы придете на следующие лекции, на следующие показы, и если вам понравился фильм, то зовите своих знакомых и друзей во вторник, у нас будет закрытие фестиваля «Другое кино», и как раз на закрытии будет опять показ «Обезьяны» официальный, и Джо, собственно, тоже будет его представлять. И на этом пришли послушать меня Джо Потрикуса, я передаю ему слово, и, в общем, спасибо еще раз.
Thank you, Boris. The translator said that was a very nice introduction, so I'll take his word for it. I was more of a fan of Star Trek. I think I'd be comfortable wearing these, but it's very too science fiction for me. So you guys just saw the film? Yes? No? Oh, I'm sorry you missed it. Hello to everybody online. Is there a camera somewhere that is streaming? Is that camera right there? These cyber people. So what do you guys think? Yeah? You got one thumb up? Okay. Today's going to be unique for me because basically in the question and answer session after the film, I don't have a lot. This is too there we go, that's better. Basically, I'll show the film in any city I go to a festival, and then I'm given 10 minutes to do a question and answer session. Today we have like 2 hours, maybe 2 hours. So what I'm going to do, for the first time ever, I'm going to explain how I made this film and my story of how I became a director. So hopefully this will be an enlightening experience. If you want to shout out anytime, go ahead and ask me a question. Don't be too polite. I can take it. If you want to yell something mean and nasty at me, I can take that as well. If you didn't like the film, just tell me. I'll try to defend it or agree with you. Just let me know so I can put on my Star Trek headphones ahead of time. So, this was my first feature, and as you know, this was
Помогите, пожалуйста, людям с микрофонами. Там микрофоны не работают у людей, по всей видимости. Помогите им настроить. No, I'm asking to help some people to tune up the mic.
This is my first feature,
Microphones. They cannot
and
adjust.
Boris probably said it was lucky enough to premiere at the Locarno Film Festival.
Мне очень повезло показать это кино и еще выиграть.
But the road getting here was
Ну, я вам скажу так, моя дорога,
very difficult.
это был самый
I'm
настоящий.
from Michigan, in the United States,
Я Соединенных
which
Штатов Америки,
is
штат
very
Чикаго.
far from both New York and Los
Очень
Angeles.
далеко, как от Лос-Анджелеса,
So,
так и от Нью-Йорка.
growing up in Michigan, that's where I was raised as well, you have this you have this sense that you can't succeed in filmmaking if you're from a small city. or a small state. You need to live in either New York or California, especially Hollywood. That's where everything happens. And so growing up, that was kind of intimidating. Because I hate Hollywood. I hate what it stands for. I hate that a low-budget film in Hollywood means $5 million. I could never understand that concept. I've never even seen $1,000 when I was younger. So $5 million. How was I going to do this? So what I did is I went to school, film school in Grand Rapids. It was a small film school. I didn't need to go to NYU or UCLA. I figured if I just went to somewhere small, I could learn the basics, what I needed to. I was one of those kids who grew up watching, VHS horror and science fiction films like non-stop. I'd never go outside. I'd just watch movies all day. So I understood what I liked and what I didn't like. So I just needed to go to film school to get a basis of how to use the camera. You think you understand how to use the camera by watching movies, and then you look back and you see the films you made when you were younger, and it's embarrassing. So film school just gave me a good basis for the rules, and the only way to break the rules is to know the rules. A lot of times people are like, I'm a rebellious filmmaker, or a punk attitude. But you have to know the rules, otherwise you don't know how to break them, I feel. It's like Sonic Youth or something. People say Sonic Youth doesn't know how to tune their guitars. And they understand how to tune their guitars, they're just fighting against the system that tells them that they have to tune their guitars. So it's kind of where I'm coming from, is I wanted to learn as much as I could about the production, so that I could break all those rules of production. So I went to film school in Michigan, and they say one of the best things you get out of any film school is the people you meet. So many of those people that I met at that film school, that I continued to hang out with and were friends with after film school, those are the people that I'm still making films with today. The ones that were there every day. Hey guys. Even if it was, they were tired and we weren't making money and I would never pay anyone. They understood what I was doing and what we were doing. They always, right from the start, I said, I'm not going to make films with 100 people with big light gear and 200 actors. This is going to be small. I saw it as like a band. When we were going to be filmmakers, we were going to be a band. And we'd hang out and we'd talk about the movie and we talk about our ideas, and it wouldn't be like my film, it would be our film. We were a group. So that's kind of I met most of them in college at film school. And I kind of stuck with them, and that's my band. So our band started off making short films like most filmmakers would. We actually started off because everybody was working. It wasn't an HD video when I was in school. It was like basically VHS video. And I hate the way VHS looks. I think it looks cheap. It just looks like everybody else's. So we thought it was cool to shoot on Super 8 film. I don't know if you guys know Super 8 film. You know Super 8 film, right? I actually shot. So I was into Super 8 film and I bought a Russian camera. Zenith? Quartz? Gotcha. So it's the Russian cameras, everything in our, in the US, our perception of Russia is that there's no plastic, there's no rubber, everything's metal and solid. So that's, the Russian camera was like that. It's all metal and this, like you could throw it against a wall and and also everybody in the United States thinks that this is like the coolest thing of all time. Your language and your alphabet is just so cool. It's like sometimes when you see someone wearing, you probably see people from like the US wearing a shirt, probably with like lettering like this, and you'll say that doesn't make any sense at all. We don't. But I guess the same as in English. If you go to like China and you see a shirt that says "Be happy on your face tomorrow." So anyway, yeah, the camera was really cool. It was made of all metal and had Russian. So that was half the fun. It was just going around and we were making our movie. And people would be like, "What is that? What is that?" It's a camera. It's a film camera. You go to school and people are like, "So what camera? You use the Panasonic camera?" Zenit Core is a Russian camera. And you immediately had some kind of respect and like, wow, this guy is cool. So it's like building this like aura of doing something different right off. It's like if you saw somebody with a musician playing with a guitar that had no strings or something, you'd be like, what is that? And so that's what we're always against doing. It takes a second for the jokes to kick in, for it to be funny. So we use different equipment, and the problem in the Super 8 film, any film, is the price. I get it. Do I need to slow down, Slava? Is it good?
I believe I'm catching up.
Catching up, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of you guys don't have the Star Trek headphones on, so that's cool.
Put them on for a second.
Put them on for a second.
When people start twisting their heads left and right, then I'll know they're upset. Since they're looking at you, it means they're...
So anyway, I didn't understand what that meant. So we make short films like any other, someone out of college or someone in college. And it's expensive to shoot on film. But we did, we never really had the money. It wasn't, I think the most important thing with filmmaking is people wait. They're always waiting for something. I need to wait for my money to come in. I need to wait to find the right actor. I need to wait for a location. For us it was like, we'll go steal the film if we need to. It's like, you need to act when inspiration is there. So that's kind of our whole mentality from the start is when you feel it, do it, because otherwise inspiration is going to die if you're waiting for money and you're waiting for something. So the other thing is locations. People are always waiting for locations. The biggest secret, I don't know how it is in Russia, but you're supposed to ask permission, you need to have insurance, and you need to have special permits or waivers. The trick is you don't need that. So you don't ever have to wait for a location. You can even go film in I'm American, so I'll use the example of McDonald's. I don't know what else to say. Seems very corporate. You can go at McDonald's and film, and you're supposed to have permission, but you don't need it. And that's the advantage of having a crew of like 3 people. Or a cast of 2 people. When you go in with and you're asking permission and you have like 50 people, it's going to be very difficult. They're going to charge you to use that space. So that was our mindset. No permission. Don't even tell people what you're doing. If you tell someone, we're just making a short film, what's it about? Let me ask my boss if you can film here. And that slows it down, and that'll kill your inspiration. So right off the bat, that was the way that our approach was going to be. No permission. Don't pay anyone for these locations. So that's how we made our short films, and we did it. We shot our own film, and where I'm from in Michigan, there's not a lot of filmmakers, and the ones that are there I don't mean to speak poorly of them, but I'm sure the same is true here, maybe for students that are out of college. Every film they make is about zombies or about a bad date that someone went on. Just the worst, most boring, mundane stuff. So right away we started making these films in Michigan just to show people that you didn't have to make these movies about the same thing. Just these dull stories that we've seen so often. So if you can tell a unique story in a unique medium, film, and have a unique background to your production, you're already doing something cool. You're already doing something very non-Hollywood. You're not imitating something else. And that was our thing. So we made 2 short films very quickly and cheaply that were maybe 4 minutes long. And looking back on those now, they're not very good. I don't think I'd show other people those. Those are kind of hidden films. Those are secret. So it wasn't until maybe we made 3 or 4 short films that we finally did make one that we liked. It was like, okay, this one's kind of okay. And we made it as a statement almost against the films that were being made in Michigan, the zombie films. This was maybe in 2006, when the zombie boom was at its peak. Everybody's making zombie movies. So we thought, just to show everybody in Michigan that you can do something different, even with the zombie genre. I believe in mashing up ideas and making things that don't seem like they make sense. So the first short that I would still stand behind is called Gordon. And it's about a man who dies and comes back from the grave, but he doesn't eat people, he's not out for blood or for brains, and he's not even scary. He's sad and confused and lost. And that made sense to me, it sounds like an absurd idea, but I thought, if I did come back from the grave, and I didn't know that I would have died, it would be a very confusing and sad time. So just a simple idea like that, we got a lot of attention, and it showed me that, it proved to me that you didn't have to stick with a formula, and you could make a zombie movie in a unique way. It wasn't even a horror film. We didn't call it a horror film. We actually pretended like it was some weird French film or something. That was our inspiration. And it didn't even have dialogue. There was no dialogue. We wanted it to be like a universal story. So that was one that we stood behind and we were proud of it. And then we did another one. This time I was at a show, I was at a concert, and I saw a band called Chance Jones in Michigan. And there was a lead singer who was like a combination of Michael Jackson, Tom Waits, and a Martian. I don't know. He was dancing on the stage, and he had very bizarre body language, and his voice was unique. And I just watched him perform, and I thought, boy, if I could get that guy in front of the camera, I could just let him do all the work. Just give him he won't even have to talk. Now, his name was Joshua Burge, and that's this guy right here. That's the guy I'm talking about. So we were still making short films with my band, and I asked him, I said, let's make a short film with you. Have you ever acted before? He said, no. So that's okay because you perform on stage, you're a performer. Like, I get it. You just have to just be yourself in front of the camera, your stage persona. And he was excited about it. He's a forward-thinking guy and he's up for new things. So a couple of years ago we made a film called Coyote. And this was also taken, because I was raised on science fiction and horror films, kind of, it's still what I come back to. I feel like it's my roots. So I wanted to make a werewolf movie. And of course I didn't want to make a traditional one, just like Gordon. I wanted to kind of subvert expectations and play with the genre. So he was again, this is basically a silent film. There's no dialogue in it. So Joshua was a werewolf who I thought, just like Gordon, if I come back from the grave, how would I react to the world around me? And Gordon's reaction was sadness and loneliness. So I thought, well, realistically, if I was a werewolf, how would I deal with that? Would I just want to kill people? Would I, just be a furious monster? And the answer was, after thinking about it, I would probably turn to some pretty hard drugs. I'd be confused and scared of myself and trying to sedate kind of animal nature. So we made the werewolf a junkie. He was a heroin addict. That's how he dealt with his werewolf behavior. And again, just that simple idea, people reacted to it, and it was changing the ideas of what a so-called horror film would be and what that genre expected. And it was really simple story. We shot it on film, and the people that did see it, really seemed to respond the right way and liked it. Unfortunately, getting into festivals is very difficult. For me, especially coming from Michigan, if you didn't know the right people, if you didn't have the right connections, reaching an audience was difficult. So it never went anywhere. It's online, and that's about it. You can see it on YouTube, I think. So then after making Coyote and really being excited for what we made and really not having enough people see it, I said, you know what, we made Coyote for $1,200 because we shot on film, so most of that money just went to film. I thought, if I could take that $1,200 and put it to something else, I bet I could make a feature, and features are easier to get to the public. People seem to appreciate features more. And we worked so economically and with such a small cast and crew that it was just time to make a feature. It was too much waiting around, and let's come up with wait for the right script, wait for the right time, and it was like, no, I'm just gonna write a feature and write it appropriate for the budget. I thought if we could just get a small budget, just don't include any car chases or shootouts or explosions, and we can do this cheap. So again, working with Joshua, I modeled this film around him, because after I met Gordon, for whatever reason, I decided that I could do stand-up comedy. It wasn't my passion, it wasn't my life, goal to do this. But there was a comedy club in town, and I thought I could just kind of do a subversive comedy act that would kind of fuck with everyone's heads. So what do? It was like an open mic night where anyone can just go up and tell jokes if they want to. So what I did is I had a sampler, a music sampler. Sampler, Slava? That works. Music sampler. Yeah, okay. He's a smart guy. So we had a music sampler, and in the sampler we had different sound effects. We had sound effects of people booing, people applauding, toilets flushing, and we go to the comedy club and plug in the sampler into the sound system there. And I have a friend at the back of the room who would trigger the sounds after my jokes. My jokes didn't make any sense. They weren't supposed to be funny. And so the crowd would sit there and hear me tell a joke that made no sense. It wasn't even a joke. My friend would be in the back, push like an applause button, and the whole crowd would erupt into laughter and confusion because they didn't know where the sound was coming from. Or suddenly I'd tell a joke and he'd push the button and like you'd hear a toilet flush. It's just like this really bizarre experience, and after a while people would just come and they would anticipate the sound effects coming, and they would start laughing before they even hear the sound effect. So it's that gimmick stopped making sense because you couldn't even hear it. People were just laughing at the stupid jokes that didn't make any sense. So after a while, we had to stop using the sampler, and I just told the stupid jokes, and people thought they were totally hilarious, and they loved just hearing stupid jokes. So I thought it was completely silly and absurd myself, so I was bored with Michigan, and I said, I'll just go do this in New York and see if the people understand this, me just going up there and telling stupid jokes. So I went to New York and started doing open mics, mic nights in New York, and for whatever absurd reason, it worked the same way. People would just laugh at these stupid jokes because they understood what I was doing, and I didn't understand it, but they seemed to understand it. So I kept going up there and telling jokes. But in New York, it's different because you have to, after a while, they consider success. Every time I do a hand gesture, you take a picture, right? So should I do like, see this? I shouldn't talk like this because there's no photos. So I shouldn't do this. I'm not doing that to you guys, I'm just doing that for a photograph. I should like speak like this and then get the whole picture. Okay, so it's in New York, sorry guys. We got 2 hours, no rush, take our time. So I was in New York, and I was considered somewhat successful because people like these silly jokes, these stupid jokes. And so the club owner would, he thought the way you succeed there is like, okay, I'm going to give you a chance to make money now doing your comedy. So the way you make money is he would give you a stack of flyers, brochures for the club, and you'd put your initial on the back of it, put your initial on the back of it, and then you'd have to stand on the sidewalk in Times Square in winter and hand these flyers to everybody passing by. You have to like shove it on them like, hey, it's comedy club, come, and you have to like stick it in their face and force them to take it. And for me, that's not my personality. So I was terrible at that, at like handing out flyers. So at the end of the night, you get paid based on how many flyers you hand out, what had your initials on. For me, it was probably like $1, no, it's probably like 50 cents, whatever that translates. 10 rubles. 10 rubles per flyer that somebody used to get into the club. It was like disguised with like a coupon. So for me, I'd go there and I'd do 5 minutes on the stage, and then I'd go out, hand out flyers for 2 hours in the cold, come back, do 5 minutes on stage, go out and hand out flyers for 2 hours.
потом, когда людей заманил, я пошел, отрабатывал свои деньги, сидел своими товарищами, потом опять уходил на улицу, опять раздавал флайеры, потом опять возвращался на сцену, весь задрыгший, замерзший, мокрый. Я не знаю, сколько это времени, но я вам скажу,
and then I have to, take a subway 45 minutes to get home, and then wake up in the morning to do my day job. My day job, I worked at a printing company. I was the manager of a printing company. So it was, 9 hours at the printing company, 6 hours at the comedy club. And after like 2 months, it's just like, it's the worst, it's the most boring, exhausting experience ever. And for me, it was never my passion. I did it, it was just a joke against the system, so-called system. So I stopped doing that and moved back to Michigan because I was bored and broke and wasn't having fun. So, of course, when it came time to write a feature, it was like, well, I haven't seen a really good depiction of the dull life of a stand-up comedian, so I'm going to just start writing some ideas about that. And when it's time to write your first feature, there's no one telling you what you can and you can't do. There's no rules, there's no one giving you $1 million saying, okay, you have to include a sex scene, you have to include, a shootout, you have to include gangsters, you have to include robots. So we could do whatever, I could do whatever I wanted to in that script, which meant every crazy idea I've had for the last 3 or 4 years and just shove them all together and kind of confuse an audience and trick them into what they think they're seeing and then make it completely absurd as possible. So for me, writing a film, I want to include things that interest me and that are part of my experience. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like art. It doesn't feel personal. It doesn't mean anything to me. So I hadn't seen a good movie about a pyromaniac before, and not that I'm a pyromaniac, but I do. Who doesn't like playing with bottle rockets and fireworks and stuff like that? So a lot of times people see the film and be like, "What? I don't understand the pyromaniac. What does that mean? I don't get it." And it's like, you don't have to get it. It's not. It's just his personality. It's his way of relating to the world he's in, and it doesn't have to tell this traditional story. It's him, and I had to be true to that character. So he's a stand-up comedian who's also very much into fire and pyromania, and that's just his personality. So I just started adding this in, and again, when it's your first film, you can do basically whatever you want. I've always been into the story of Faust and the devil. So it was like I needed someone almost like an opposition to his. I don't know where we're at in the translation, but I'm just going to go on. I needed some kind of opposition against almost some motivation for Trevor, the character, to get out of his static life and his mundane day-to-day experiences. So who better to introduce Trevor to something new and exciting than the devil? But obviously I couldn't just make a devil, with horns and a realistic devil. I think that would be kind of silly. So I thought I'd make him as cheesy and as stupid looking as possible and just put a guy in a devil costume. I didn't want some kind of half attempt to make a real devil. That's just not my style. So again, I started throwing in any idea I could. I even, I borrowed from the Bible, just like, the story of the Garden of Eden and the forbidden fruit and all that. Even if you don't understand that part of the film, that's okay. Hopefully it works on a different level. You don't need to know that. But for me, I wanted to have some kind of little extra meat to the story. This vodka is really good and strong. It's a joke. So So anyway, okay, so I'm writing the script, and I had the script written, and I gave it to the people that I work with, and said, here, we can make this movie, we can do it for cheap. And they all liked it, and it's all based around Joshua, one character, so we didn't need a big cast, and I thought if Joshua could do a good job, then the film would work. The one thing I didn't realize is that not only is Joshua afraid of cars and bicycles and heights and thunderstorms, he's also afraid of fire very much. So in the film, you'll see him a lot of times, he'll be like lighting something and he'll be shaking a little bit. That's not acting, he's really had true fear. But Joshua's funny because before we'd shoot, he'd be having anxiety, I can't do it, I'm freaking out, this is, I don't know if I can't do it, and then as soon as I'd say action, he'd be in character, completely ready to go, just perfect. Even if he shaked a little bit, I was like, that's good, that adds to the performance. But he did it, he's that guy. It's like when you find your person, you find your, not that I'm the Beatles, but your Lennon, your McCartney, that works, as soon as I was working with Joshua, I was like, yeah, this is it, this is my guy, we understand each other. Things with him, I think that's the most important thing when you're getting ready to make a film is don't look for actors, don't go hiring people who've done other things, just find someone that you have that chemistry, that you understand each other. With me and Joshua, it's basically before the scene, the direction is, okay, so you're here, you're in the bathroom, and you get it, right, Josh? You get it? Yeah, I get it. Okay, I figured you did. And that's like our direction. There's no, I don't need to describe anything. It's just, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I figured you did. Here we go. And that's just, and that's the ideal way for both of us. I think for any film to work, to make it feel like some kind of art, is to have this relationship that is personal, and you both feel like you're doing something together. Because we shot really quickly, and by that I don't mean the whole film was finished quickly, but we film it quickly. Again, we had like maybe 2 or 3 casts. We had somebody holding the microphone. I held the camera. We didn't even bring in any artificial lighting ever. It was all just natural ambient lighting. And usually, if there was another actor in the scene who wasn't in the shot, I would just tell them to hold the microphone sometimes. So we didn't even have to have another sound person. In this way, again, when you're out in public and you don't have permission to film somewhere, as few people as possible is better. So, believe it or not, we were able to shoot just on weekends. We basically just shot on weekends for maybe 6 months, and we'd shoot every day. We'd shoot one scene. That was our goal. Just shoot one scene and finish that. And some days we would finish in an hour. Some days it would be a long day for us. Would be like 6 hours. I don't know if it's because I'm lazy or because I don't think it's necessary, but we never did wake up at 4 a.m., shoot till midnight, you know, wait, get 2 hours of sleep, do it again the next day. To me, that just feels wrong, it feels artificial, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything real, it feels like work, basically. It feels like a job, and I never ever wanted this to feel like a job. And so we did it quickly, and then we usually just finish shooting, go get some food, get a couple beers, and talk about how it went, and it was just really relaxed. And that's just how I always want to do films. Now people are like, oh, for your next film, you know, are you gonna look to raise $1 million for that? And it's like, no. First off, I wouldn't be able to get $1 million, and second off, I wouldn't know what to do. I literally wouldn't know what to do with $1 million. I would. It's like I tell people I'd probably take 5,000 of that, make the film, and then put the other 900,000, whatever, in my pocket, and be rich. Because I don't even know what people do with that much money. And that's low budget, would be $1 million. So for this film, the post-production budget was twice as much as the production budget. The production budget was raised, I'm sure you guys know about Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So we raised $2,000 on Kickstarter, and that was enough to basically do the whole film. As crazy as that sounds, but when you do it without paying anyone, and you don't have a big cast or crew, and you're not paying for insurance or locations, it's pretty realistic. The only thing I did is make sure that everybody ate really well. I wanted to make sure that they felt respected in that right, at least, so it wouldn't be pizza every day. We could eat some good food. We didn't have wardrobe, there was no makeup. Stylistically, I don't even like cranes or big tracking shots. So everything was, I held the camera. We didn't have to hire any kind of gear for that. We shot it. This is the first HD film I shot. I know I wouldn't be able to shoot on Super 8 film for this. And as soon as I saw what kind one time I was fooled into thinking that HD was a 16mm film. And so as soon as I was fooled on that, okay, that's good enough for me, let's shoot this on HD. So I bought a Canon 60D camera. I don't include that in the budget, because I can use that for other things, or I can sell that and make the money back. So we bought that camera, bought a really cheap microphone. I think the microphone was like $80, and the recorder was like $50. Watching the movie, you guys probably like, yeah, we figured it was a cheap microphone. But that's, if your film and your story can work with the way that you film it. Our film had this kind of, people identify as a kind of punk attitude or some kind of anarchy, a character in anarchy. If you make it in those means, it almost heightens the sense of the feeling of that and of the story you're trying to tell, that you're doing it. You're telling a story about basically anarchy, and you're filming it in a way that's done with some kind of rule breaking and going against the norm. It helps, and I think that's helped our film because we weren't trying to make a science fiction film for $2,000 or some kind of robot war film for $2,000. We're just making a film about someone who's angry against the society he lives in and doesn't agree with these things. The way that we filmed it, we didn't agree with the way most people do it, and we didn't agree with people's perceptions of how to make a film. It angers me when people feel like they need to live in Hollywood or they need to live in a big city where there's big producers or actors. That kind of mentality for me is it's the same feeling like if you said, I want to be in a band, oh, but I have to go to New York to be in a band. That's where bands play when anybody, obviously anyone can, pick up a guitar and drums and start a band in a garage. That's the exact same way I felt about making films, is, just pick up a camera and go in the garage and, make a film. So in the US, there's no, and I'm not sure how it works in Russia, but there's no kind of government grants that provide for filmmakers or really any arts. And that's one thing that we doing festivals, we realized people are often complaining in other countries. Just got back from Portugal and where the filmmakers there were complaining because the government doesn't have any more money for grants for filmmakers, and they don't know how to make their film with their own money, and to me and to all my friends in the US, that's a completely foreign idea of having a government help you make your film. Even in Canada, which is from my home in Michigan is maybe 2 hours away. In Canada, you just have to basically have an idea, and they'll give you $30,000 to make a short film, which is totally absurd to me. It's just mind-blowing. If you want to do a feature, you can get $100,000 easily from the government. I don't even know how to wrap my head around that. I've never had anything even close to that.
Фильм «Движение», и вы опишете свой фильм, он подойдет под это описание, то вы получите $100,000.
The other way, so we made the film for $2,000, and the problem was we needed way more money for post-production. We needed to do a sound mix and start with a color correction. We hadn't been accepted into any festivals or anything like that, so we didn't know where the film was going to go, and I went into it with no expectations. I thought maybe it would just show in Michigan and a few small festivals, and maybe I would just make the other filmmakers jealous because I made a film for so cheap and it wasn't about zombies. So, all we had to start paying off with was a color correction, a sound mix. So this is where the story gets a little bit crazy and almost unbelievable. In the United States, if you have a soda bottle or a beer bottle, you can take it back to the store and they'll give you 10 cents. I don't know how many rubles that is. They give you 10 cents for that empty beer bottle or Coke bottle. So I spent 2 weeks bugging my friends on Facebook, asking everyone on Facebook for their empty bottles. And I spent 2 weeks loading my car, just completely filling it, going around my friends' houses, filling it with empty cans and bottles, and taking them to the store. And the way we did this is even unique to Americans. I don't know too many filmmakers that return empty bottles to pay for the post-production. But it works, and when you're working with no money and no possibility of money, you have to get creative, and you have to come up with different solutions for your problems. Never once did I think, we can't do it, we don't have the money, we can't come up with the money, or we have to wait for someone to give us money to do the post-production. It was like, fuck that, let's steal the money or return bottles. And someone's like, yeah, you get to return bottles. I was like, yeah, I'll just fill up my car and return bottles for 2 weeks, why not? And so we raised $1,000 doing that, just with empty bottles. So, again, that just, it makes you excited when you're doing it. You feel like you're doing something different. You feel like your personal story of how you made it is almost just as good as the actual film that you made. It's just like, it motivates you to tell people that there's other ways to do this. You don't have to you don't have to do what everybody tells you. You can do it on your own. So we got a bunch of money with that, and then we started making up T-shirts and lighters. So I took a lot of that money and actually did not and paid maybe $200 for a sound mix instead of $1,000. And with the remaining money, I just made up a bunch of T-shirts and things. And we'd go to local shows, concerts, and we'd tell the bands like, hey, our movie's all punk rock and heavy metal and hip hop, and they were cool with it. We're friends with them. So they let us set up a little booth where we'd sell these T-shirts at and stuff, and people hadn't even seen the movie. But they figured since it was at a rock show, that it must be pretty cool. It must be a pretty cool movie. So people started, buying T-shirts and buying, we made lighters appropriately enough. It had Ape on it, said Ape on it, and we just got this sense around town of we're doing something different. Especially since the T-shirts didn't even say what it was; it just had an ape face and just said Ape. It had nothing to do with the movie, and it didn't have a really tacky website on there. There was no description of what it was, so it was one of my favorite directors, Jim Jarmusch, once said that his way to kind of promote a movie is hit, not hype. So we kind of took that model and we're never trying to hype ourselves as doing something big. We're never saying we're important, you have to come to this. It was all just kind of almost secretive. We had stickers. We put them all over town. I'd take spray paint, don't tell the police, but I'd spray paint Ape on sidewalks and on buildings and things, and people would just, it just built this weird sense around town of, what is Ape? What is this? Is this a movie or what is it? And so then once people started hearing, oh, maybe it's a movie, I know Joel, okay, so he's the guy that's, spray painting all over town, Ape. So we built this small following in Michigan, and so when it came time to do a screening for some friends, some people of our rough cut, so it was, we had someone that I haven't talked to in a long time that actually he's a filmmaker, and he's had a lot of films and competitions and festivals. He's like, okay, I gotta see what this, I've heard about this Ape that's all over town. So I'm here for a few days, and so we invited him to the private test screening, and he saw it, he thought it was great, and he told me he gave me the name of someone who programs for the Carnival Festival in Vancouver, and I sent it to the programmer for Vancouver, and his name was Mark, and then I just forgot about it, I didn't think anything would come of this. Again, I just wanted to show it around Michigan, and just kind of, fuck with people and make this something that they hadn't seen in their little small town. And so I finally heard back after a few months from this guy Mark that I sent to, and he's like, yeah, I don't really like it that much. It's a little too, out there. He's like, but I think, but I know somebody in Europe who will probably like it. It probably makes more sense to him. I don't think it's very as much North American appeal. So luckily he sent it to him, and that person was a programmer for the Locarno Film Festival. So he loved it. So it's strange because it's also frustrating because you can hear from someone. It's like, do your thing, tell your story, be punk rock, do whatever you want to do. But then it's like, and hopefully the right person who's a programmer for a big festival will see it and love it. It's just like, so it's almost like you can, it's like at that point, all you can do is just try and do something different that you believe in. If you don't believe in it, if you're like, I'm gonna make this little love stories, romantic comedy, hopefully some people will see it, maybe we can sell it to somebody and they'll, put it on Netflix, but, it'll make a few bucks. Like that is, to me, that's the worst mind state, kind of this business mind state, because for me it's like, it has to be art, it has to be something you believe in. It's like, it's the difference between meeting people who write like trashy romance novels, and that's their living. That's fine if that's what, you're good at it and you can do that and make money. But if you don't have that business mind, then it has to come from some kind of real personal conviction to do this. Because that way, you can shove it down everyone's throats, you can bother everyone with this movie and you won't feel embarrassed. There's never that moment. And I don't care if you just have a jacket on from 2004, take this. Like everybody I saw, I would shove my movie, on them. And luckily, it got into the right hands. But then the real problem started. Once the guy in the corner liked it, it's like good news, bad news. Because, and this is also unique to even people that I talk to in the US, they almost don't believe me when I say this. The film is so stripped down and so bare bones and minimal that because that's just the kind of personal aesthetic I have, half because again I'm too lazy to learn about new technology or new advancements in filmmaking, I just don't care. I'm just stuck in my ways. So the film was, I started to do a rough cut once we were shooting, I started to put the footage in iMovie. iMovie, the editing program. So I just started rough cutting in there, and then it just kept going. I just kept cutting in iMovie and doing it in iMovie. And it's like, here's the final version of the DVD. It's an iMovie format, but so what? It's never gonna. All I'm gonna do is have it on DVD and just bug people with it for the rest of my life and force them to see it. And then suddenly we got accepted in this festival that wanted to show it, and there was all this like frame rate conversion issues that was all foreign to me because I just didn't care.
До фестиваля. И в этот момент я, простите, сел на задницу.
Я
не ожидал, что кто-то меня куда-то допустит или кто-то меня куда-то примет.
And if you're going to a major festival, you have to have basically a DCP, which is like a digital version of your film, and that needs to be in 24 frames per second. This is all new to me, so when you try and take your iMovie 29.97 frames per second file and make it 24 frames per second, it's like this, and it doesn't work. You don't know what to do, and everybody spend, weeks, with anxiety, emailing everyone, every technology wizard, how do I fix this, what do I do, and all the repairs, it's just as bad, and it never looks good, and then the festival is giving you a deadline, we need it in 2 weeks, up all night, trying to fix this silly, stupid problem. And then you realize you have to quickly, because you don't have money to pay anyone, you have to learn Final Cut Pro now and start over. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. So, I had to suddenly learn Final Cut Pro and just basically not sleep for 2 weeks and edit the whole movie again from scratch. Using what little sound mix we had as some kind of a template, guideline to go from. And then once you get that final mix in the first time you learn Final Cut Pro, this new cut, and you send it off to the DCP and you watch the DCP, and you're like, oh man, I kind of didn't know what I was doing.
сумасшедший эффект. Мы, в принципе, даже не знали, что мы делали. У нас там иногда кадры не совпадали друг друга. У нас, в принципе, там видно было, что исчезают какие-то кадры, и не попадают. Действительно видно, что делали, не грамотеи, скажем так, неопытные люди. Но именно это почему-то произвело эффект, и людям понравился именно то, что мы сделали.
I wanted to watch it. This is the first time like the film's ever been shown in DCP where it's supposed to look the right way.
Вот сейчас этот фильм, кто из вас смотрел, это первый раз фильм был, собственно, показан в кинотеатре версии, скажем так, где удалены все несовпадающие кадры, где все отреставрировано, где цифровая обработка была сделана. Когда у вас есть цифровая обработка, фильм еще нужно перевести на фестивале международного масштаба. Я никогда в жизни не думал о том, что нужно что-то переводить, и черт возьми, нам оказалось, что на фестивале нужно этот фильм перевести на французский. Я вообще не знаю, как говорить на французском, а более того, у нас же юмор, у нас шутки, и как нам их переводить на французский язык, а там еще что-то было, речь была там еще о заправке под названием 7.11, уникальная вещь только для Америки, да, теплицы, которые в кино обсуждалось, это тоже свойственно только Соединенным Штатам Америки. Как же нам, собственно, перевести это все на французский язык, так чтобы вот ментальная связь между фильмом и зрителем не была прервана. Ну и так получилось, что у нас не было выбора, мы, во-первых, что-то перевели, да, а потом нам еще пришлось субтитры ставить, в которых субтитрах будет описано, о чем же, собственно, речь идет. Давай фигня какая-то, $800 нужно было заплатить переводчику, после которого еще субтитры добавлять, а потом еще пришлось платить кому-то, чтобы еще добавлять дополнительные работы, а потом получилось так, что мой фильм с $2000 начал расти $4000, а потом еще $6000, а потом я уже сам себе говорю, блин, так мне достало это уже, домошло все творится, не хочу я уже фильм делать, устал, все. Меня этот фильм уже беспокоит, и получилось так, что вот это вот беспокойство, это чувство недовольства заняло все мои мозги настолько, что я был готов просто отказаться от фестиваля, да, это действительно такая странноватая жалоба от меня, я хотел, а с другой стороны, меня настолько достали все, я был готов отказаться от этого. И вот у меня потом начались бессонные ночи, я нервничал, действительно, это
Just assume that you'll be so excited to go there. This is the biggest break of your life. And so they don't feel like they need to provide flights or transportation or lodging or anything. They just assume you're going to be so excited to go that you're just going to do it and you're not going to think about it. So of course we had no money after we made the translation and DCP and all these things. So we had to shamelessly beg on Kickstarter again to family and friends for money just to get over to Switzerland for this festival. But then we were lucky enough to win an award there, so that covered that. And the next film is covered. But here's how we're going to do the next film, even with this money, is, again, people ask, obviously we get $1 million, you already have companies that are, begging you to work with them, and they're offering you all this money. And the reality of it is that, no, even at this stage, it's incredibly difficult to get any kind of funding, especially in the U.S. Like I said, there's no government funding or there's no kind of grants. The films that I make, I think are seen as very almost unmarketable. They're on such a low budget that it's kind of like they don't appeal to a mass audience because they're not slick, and it's difficult to sell to
очень тяжело продать такие фильмы, массовой аудиенции, да, чтобы всю страну показать. Дело в том, что вот такого рода фильмы притягивают к себе очень малое количество людей, сама аудитория у нас низкая, и поэтому рекламировать это при пользовании средств массовой рекламы, скорее всего, невозможно, но именно такие фильмы мне нравятся. Именно такие фильмы я
люблю. Unfortunately, if I want to continue making these kind of films that, again, don't use cranes and big, huge, trucks full of lighting and crews of 100 people, you know, I have to suck it up and keep bothering people for money and begging and keep doing it like the old-fashioned way. And again, what it comes down to is we've already, you know, I wrote the next script, and it's like, we're going to do it the same way. Write the script, make it crazy, make it weird, we don't have to answer to anyone, do whatever we want, and we're going to shoot on this day, no matter what, we're just going to start, even if we don't have any money, even if it's raining, it's supposed to be a beautiful summertime picnic scene, which isn't going to happen in this movie, there's going to be no picnics. But it's like, we're going to have to do it no matter what, otherwise, you know, I just meet a lot of filmmakers, especially in Michigan where I'm from, that are just like, well, you know, we're going to do it next month, maybe we're going to push it back because we're waiting on this to go through, or actor, you know, doesn't feel comfortable yet, they don't know the lines. And it's like, for me, it'll just be keep waiting. So we've already said, you know, we beg people every day, like literally every day on email, and everybody I see begging them for money and like saying, hey, award winner, you know, I know what I'm doing now, you can trust me, give us some money. But they always want something in return, obviously. So you can find these investors in the U.S. who probably would give me, I don't know, $100,000, which is still an insanely low budget. But then they really do, you know, I've met with these companies, they really do require you to have a certain amount of sex scenes, car chases. As absurd as that sounds, is completely true. Especially the company Trauma. I don't know if you guys know Trauma. They're like funny. They asked me, the first question they asked me was, does anyone fall out of a window? And I laughed. I was like, no. And like, alright. And then, I think that, I don't know if they're half joking, but I mean, Trauma films are that way. They wanted to know how many heads exploded, how many people were run over by cars, and they were, surprisingly, they were the only company that I talked to was like, yeah, maybe this could work, I could do that, I could throw in some exploding heads and some cars. I'd rather have someone get run over by a car, I guess, than have a car chase. Car chase seems dull to me compared to someone getting run over by a car. So you have to make these compromises if you want to continue making your films. I know some people that they'll make a film and they'll shoot like a sex scene for no reason, and then when the company asks them to get a sex scene, because I was going to first, weirdly, it's like, yeah, and they reach in the back for the other DVD, the version that's good for, you know, American distributors. Yes, it is. And then if they meet somebody they actually respect and just want to see the movie, they reach out to this bag and say, here's my movie. Even oddly enough, the new script was the people at, there's this screenwriters lab at Sundance, and they're interested in like helping projects in development, and they wrote me, and I was really, they said they want to see the new script. And you know, I sent it to them. You know, I was incredibly excited. And I was actually still working. That's the other thing. I still had a day job. I still had like a real job. I worked at. I was like a teacher at a school. It's like an after-school program. Because I figured because we won money, I still need to like save that money for other things. So I was working and I got an email from Sundance Lab and they said, we want to see your next script, we heard you're working on one, and that was in October. And I was like, oh yeah, it's written, at that point it was only 10 pages long and it needed to be like 100 pages long. And I said, yeah, the script is, it's ready to go. And they said, okay, can you send it to us in 2 weeks? So to meet the deadline. I said, yeah, 2 weeks, no problem. Polish it up a little bit. And so, you know, I got the that email and sent it back, and I sat there for maybe like 5 minutes, like,
И получается, что я
okay, I have to write this whole
получил
script now in 2 weeks.
электронное
I have
сообщение,
to
которое
work
мне говорит, что
tomorrow.
90 страниц нужно написать за 2 недели. Я сам себе думаю, бляха, кого попало.
Shit. And it's like one of those moments where you get in your life where it's like,
То есть у меня
suddenly like,
получается
my life goals or my necessities, what do I do, you know, like that moment you feel in the movie where it's like, bro, let's take a risk, you know, so
и жрать хочется
I sat there for 5
эти
minutes
90 страниц впихнуть в свой распорядок жизни. А я, в принципе, даже не понимаю, как это делать. Я звоню своему боссу, время 10 часов вечера, звоню своему боссу, я у него только получил, автоответчик. Я звоню и говорю, эй, Дженнифер, мне очень жаль, что я это сделал, но, черт возьми, я увольняюсь. Я прямо сейчас должен уволиться, потому что есть у меня кое-что, что я должен сделать, потому что для меня очень важно, я очень люблю работать для тебя. Ну, короче, мне приходится мне задницу целовать, и вот я делаю затяжную задницу целовать. И все есть, автоответчик. Но понятно, что немного людей есть, которые не выполняют свою работу. И, короче, я себя сам гнул в пятницу, я отказался от мира. И я, можно было меня назвать, в течение 2 недель дятлом. Я был вот этот дятел, который клевал кнопки компьютера, только было слышно тук-тук-тук-тук-тук-тук-тук-тук, да. Но я написал, черт возьми, этот сценарий 90 страниц за 2 недели. И я послал его и каждый день проверял электронную почту. Я даже пошел, я ходил в бар, да, и вроде выпить хочется, черт возьми, слегонца. А я сижу трезвый, гоню вообще. У меня гонки, я даже пиво не могу выпить, и проверяю электронную почту, постоянно обновляю ящик, как параноик. И оно пришло только 2 месяца спустя, черт возьми, 2 месяца я был параноиком, но они меня приняли, они приняли мой сценарий. Я очень хорошо помню тот сценарий. Простите, извините, я сказал, что меня не приняли. И я так думаю, так, а что же мне сейчас делать? Ага, я столько времени на это потратил, столько времени ждал, меня не приняли. Так, но есть еще одна компания, да, где сидят сценаристы, туда мы тоже не влезли.
By the way, the story doesn't have a happy ending, so don't feel
кстати, вот у этой истории, которую я сейчас рассказываю, точно счастливого конца нет, поэтому не ожидайте, что я скажу что-то счастливое в конце. Нет, здесь он не предусмотрен. Ну и, короче, я засунул всю свою гордость себе прямо туда, прямо туда, да, вот в эту дырочку, вот, я думаю, так я попробую второй раз написать. И, короче, в июне я сам себя избил ментально, да, я говорю, черт возьми, я сейчас сделаю 3 сценария, и я буду рассылать эти 3 сценария разным людям, чтобы кто-то меня принял, и говорят, да, мы дадим еще шанс. И тут, понимаете, я просто на фразу сказал, у меня есть новая версия этого сценария, да, и посмотрите, пожалуйста. А мне туда отвечают, слушай, новая версия появилась, там новое видение этого сценария, то давай, конечно, шли нам его. Ну, я им вру, что новый сценарий, новая картина, и новое видение, новое развитие, новые сцены, да, что вот у меня все хорошо, но я вру им просто все это.
Now I have to write a new version.
И теперь сам себя ловлю на идее, что набрал-то я хорошо, да, но мне нравится моя версия, черт возьми, мне придется написать новую версию, только чтобы им, чтобы их она удовлетворила, но черт возьми, когда пишешь что-то, чтобы удовлетворить кого-то, нужно удовлетворить их требования, мне так хочется.
So I take my script and I had some real redemptive moments at the end. I make these big emotional scenes. I just put in these big emotional scenes. I even think I made the lead character cry at one point. I don't ever I don't want the character crying. There's no reason for that. I did have to tell them, sorry, there's still no romance. There's no love interest in the story. I know they like that kind of thing. So, I added, these things, big emotional moments, and just 2 days, maybe, I've been traveling lots of movies yesterday. Found out that we were rejected again.
Я только обнаружил, что новый сценарий опять отвергли, но похвалили и сказали, что якобы они ведут перемены. Да? Ну что ж, я уже пишу 3-ю версию своего сценария, которую пытаюсь,
скажем так, дать
But I have this new version of the script that if I feel like I want to sell out and someone needs, you know, they need these big moments, I just give them that version of the script. It's like, you're going to give me some money? Sure, we have emotion and drama and tears and sunsets and all that thing. And then for my, you know, my band, the filmmakers, I work with, here's a script. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There's no tears,
Получается так, что мне пришлось
there's no
написать
big emotional moments.
несколько
It's cold, it's hard, it's
сценариев,
real.
но в конечном
And
счете
then
выглядит так,
we've already talked about this,
что
where
поудалять
if
пришлось все эти
somebody decides, you know, they like that script
сцены,
with the big emotions and tears, we will film all of that and do the same thing. Have two different versions of the movie, one to make them happy, and then the other version will
Короче,
send the
пришлось
festivals, the
нам
real
обработать тот
version.
вариант, что
в зависимости от того, что хотят.
Wants to show what his money went for. Of course, we have the big tears and sadness and big emotional moments. So, you know, as much as people think that I have some kind of personal integrity, this like punk rock aesthetic, or, you know, fighting against the system, I still feel like you have to sell out and subvert the system the way, in a way that will help you. Even if, you know, I have no problem
быть вот
quote unquote
продажным,
selling
да,
out,
собственно,
you
сделать
know, in
то,
this
что мне говорят,
way.
мне очень не
You know,
нравится
I'll
это.
make people
И
happy if
поэтому
I
я
can
именно
make
стараюсь
what I want to do.
доставить
It's
людям
all
удовольствие от
about
просмотра
finding a
фильма
different
именно
way
тем, что я
to
делаю,
get around
именно вот
these. So
дарить живые
you make
эмоции.
one version. I know this
Мы
sounds like the
креативно
biggest
приходится
cop-out,
находить
but
варианты,
how it works
способы,
if you
как
want to
обойти
beg for
вокруг
money.
этого
You have
фейс-контроля.
two different
Это
versions,
игра,
and,
ну знаете,
you know, you try to
кинематограф
sell
и
whichever
деньги,
one you
это
can,
прямо как
and
игра,
hopefully
и
the one
поэтому
you truly
готовишь в
believe
одной
in
мысли несколько сценариев, пытаешься
works,
продавать,
even
если
if it
какая бы из них не сработала, ее все равно можно продать.
there's a whole different version where the lead character Trevor gets caught by, you know, by the police. And we filmed all this, and he's, you know, it's a corrupt cop, and they force him to do all these things he doesn't like, you know, because, you know, when I was writing, I was like, you know, maybe I didn't believe in my story enough. I felt like it needed some kind of, you know, traditional punch, you know, need a little Tarantino in there or something, you know, you just, you don't believe in yourself or something. So we did that, and people liked it, and they're like, yeah, it's cool, you know, I get it. I was just like, you know, we had all these actors for this, and, you know, the guy who played the cop was all excited, and all these people, and it's like, there's that moment where you have to just look at that person in the eye and say, it doesn't work, I'm sorry, all your efforts, all that time you put into it, even though people like it, it's not the story I want to tell, you know, and that's a drag, but that's, you know, it's all about making these decisions. Again, it's believing in what you're doing and not trying to make someone else happy. Even if it helps you get somewhere, you know, do that version, but just push your own version that makes you happy and that feels like your art. This new film that we're going to shoot, which I set a date for a buzzer, we do the same thing we did, even, you know, we won these awards and blah blah blah, traveled around, and, you know, this is amazing here in Moscow. I never wanted to make this film basically show people in Michigan that they didn't have to make zombie movies anymore. And you know, this is like, to me, you know, it's a lot luck, but it's also, I feel like I tried something different, and I didn't have to answer to anybody. So the new film, you know, people, especially people in Michigan who see like on Facebook, oh, Joel's traveling to France again, Joel's going to Brazil, you know, they think that my life is I'm rich and famous, and people are wanting to just do whatever, you know, give me lots of money for the film, and it's like, the reality is, especially in the US, that it's going to be the same when we go back. We're still going to shoot this film in Michigan. We're not going to film it in Hollywood. I'm not going to bring in the cranes and the light trucks. And it's going to be the same. You know, like I called our little indie rock band of filmmakers. The same, like 3 or 4 people. You know, he's going to be the star. Joshua's going to be the star of that again. We have that thing where we understand each other. And
знаю.
So we meet
Извините,
once a
мы
week,
очень хорошо понимаем. У нас
and we
получается
see it as
нажимать
like, bam,
на нужные кнопки.
it's like, you
И
guys got
у
new
нас просто есть
ideas,
вот эта
I
вот
got some
командная
ideas, let's
работа с
try
теми
this.
людьми, с кем я
And so
работаю. У нас
once
есть новые
it comes time
креативные
to
идеи,
shoot,
и вот
you know,
когда
our
приходит время,
band will be
собственно,
tight, you know, it won't be,
наша
I feel
команда,
like,
у нас вот эти вот
I feel like
невидимые нити между друг
filmmaking is
другом,
the
да, мы
most,
чувствуем каждое движение, каждую эмоцию друг друга, и как же это сейчас сказать,
it's
сейчас
just,
соберусь,
it's silly,
это вообще, ну, действительно
and
глуповато,
so
то, что я говорю,
it's
отказываться
absurd
от идеала, это
that
абсурдно.
you spend so much time writing.
Вы столько
To me, it's
времени
like,
тратите,
for
чтобы
me,
написать
filmmaking
сценарий,
feels
это
like the
как,
way it's traditionally done
это вот мне
is
дает
would be
ощущение
like
того,
if you're
как
a musician
кинематограф был,
and
ну, очень
you
много лет
write
назад.
a
Сначала
symphony
пишешь сценарий,
with
да, это вот как
hundreds of
музыкант, он пишет
instruments, and it's very
симфонию, да,
complex, and this is your life
симфонический
work,
оркестр.
and you're
Это
so
очень
proud of
сложно, это
it.
как жизнь,
And
это как
then
жизнь
you just hire,
музыканта.
all these people to
И
play the
мне именно
different
вот это
parts,
нравится, да.
cello and
С одной
all
стороны,
that
смотрите,
stuff.
вот у музыканта,
And
он
then
пишет
you
там
get
что-то
together
для
and say,
скрипки, что-то
okay,
там для тромбона,
in
а
July
я
1st,
пишу
we are going
эмоции.
to
Смотрите, что
record our
1
symphony,
июля
so everybody kind of
мы уже знаем
understands what
четко,
they're
что
doing.
мы будем
Yeah,
записать
yeah,
нашу
yeah, okay, I
эмоцию.
got it. And
Извините,
you get
нашу
together,
симфонию,
and it's
да,
like
казалось бы, всего лишь 3-4
action.
человека, но это симфония.
And there's
А потом звучит то
no,
слово «мотор».
it's just like suddenly, this is it.
И ни с того ни с сего
And
вот
you're doing the
вот они живые
symphony,
эмоции.
like
Мы
filmmaking feels
записываем
like that, where it's just all these people who don't know each other,
из 200
may, oh,
музыкантов,
I
но у нас
worked on
всего
this,
лишь
you worked
3-4
on that,
человека,
okay, you'll be
наши
fine, you did a
эмоции,
little
это
rehearsal, you did a little
200
audition,
потом
you'll be
немножечко
good.
сделаем
And it's like the day of,
репетиции, что
that's
такое.
what you're
И
shooting
вот он
will
этот день
be there
мы
permanently, the rest of the world will be
Всё,
seeing
этот фильм
this.
пришел.
So for
Весь мир
me,
будет это
I
смотреть.
want to
Нам
keep it
для меня,
small, so I feel like when it comes time to
чтобы
film,
это все было миниатюрным, незаметным.
we're a band, we
команда,
practice these
мы
songs,
команда
we know
людей.
these songs, we
Как
can
вот музыкальная
improvise on
группа,
these
да, как вот
songs and change
Металлика, мы
things.
импровизировали, мы что-то
It's, you know,
изменяли,
we're going
мы
in the
нарастили вот эти
studio,
вот
we know
невидимые
what
нити,
we're doing,
мы
we don't have
делимся
to,
нашими эмоциями.
we don't have to spend
Нам не
8
нужно
hours
сидеть 8 часов базарить
digesting the
для
camera
того, чтобы
and,
настраивать
you know,
камеру,
rehearsing the
выяснять,
lines
что мы
over and
делаем, или
over and
постоянно
memorizing them,
репетировать
because at
какие-то
that
одни и
point
те
we'll
же
have
линии для
it,
того, чтобы
because, you know,
их
it's just
запомнить.
for
Да,
like
ну
a
это все за
band,
что мы
and
уже
we'll
знаем,
practice,
что мы хотим
and
делать.
And
И
so
мы
many
это
times in
проживали группа
filmmaking,
так
it's like
очень
16-hour
много
days
раз,
because you're
когда я смотрел в
trying to
кинематографии
adjust the camera
16
to
часов в
what you
день, они
want,
что-то
and
крутят,
practice this
крутят камеры,
camera move,
двигают ее взад-вперед,
and, you know,
что-то
the
смотрят,
actress
вот
is
эту всю фигню, актрисы
unhappy
переодеваются,
because
и
her
актриса
makeup isn't
несчастливая,
right,
потому что у нее
and
там
the
левый глаз не так
actor's
накрашен, актер
not lit
недоволен
properly, and
чем-то,
it's just
просто его
like,
не так
wow,
осветили, да
that's
что
just
за
so
крышесос
absurd to me,
какой-то,
that's the
вообще
most
такой
foreign
абсурд
thing, it
просто.
just,
Вообще
it
такой
feels
абсурд,
so
который для меня абсолютно
it's
чужой.
artificial,
Это
and
для меня это создает
that's,
ощущение того, что это очень
it's,
чужое.
it's
Это, вот,
like, you know,
это
I keep
не
using
из,
these
точно не из
analogies,
моей
but
головы.
a
Вот эти вот
painter,
аналогии,
and he
которые сейчас
has,
рассказал,
you know, 50 people come in,
они
and
действительно
all
эти
do one little
чужеродные для
spot
меня.
of
Да,
painting,
это,
and they all
представьте, вы
add
рисуете
to it,
картину,
and it's like,
повесили просто полотно,
just,
пригласили 50 человек
no,
с
you
улицы,
know
да,
what
и
you're
каждый
doing,
сделает
you're a
свой мазок.
painter,
И что, у вас
just go
картина
in there
получится, что ли?
and
Да ни
paint,
хрена не
and don't
получится,
let
ну
these
да,
outside
вот.
distractions
Именно поэтому мы
bother
делаем
you,
именно
so
же, мы
for Buzzard
стараемся
it's going to be the same
не
way,
позволять
it's
членам
just,
нашей команды, чтобы нас вот
we
эти
can
всякие там
do it for,
костюмеры
we can shoot this for
и все остальные
$2,000,
люди мешали,
because
отвлекали меня от моей оригинальной
we
мысли.
don't
И
need to
да,
pay
для того, чтобы
everybody.
сделать наше кино, мы можем сделать всего лишь за $2000.
Cause, you know, I help them out. If we win an award, we split that amongst
Дело
everybody.
просто, понимаете,
So they
как бы
understand
выиграл
this is a
приз,
risk, but they
но мы
understand
деньги все
that, you know, if
разделили
you win an
между
award,
людьми, я
it's
честно
split up
разделил,
between the
да.
band.
Мы все разделили это между
We
людьми.
have to pay for food.
Нам нужно оплачивать
And like I said before,
продукты
you know, I don't like to
питания. И
just
как я
feed
вам сказал,
everybody, you know, bread and water
и
every day.
понятно, да,
So
что
that's
я не
to me the
могу
most
кормить
important thing
среди
is
своей команды хлебом и
feeding them
водой.
right.
Главное, чтобы люди
We're
хавали
gonna buy
хорошо.
a new
Когда
camera
едят хорошо, у них это настроение
when it
правильно.
looks really good, but I'm
Дальше
gonna sell it
камера
on
у
eBay
нас,
after we're done shooting.
у нас
So I
камера,
can make
я
all
бы
that
сказал,
money back.
средняя камера,
Same with
но
our
как только
sound
сниму
gear.
кино,
I'm gonna
я ее
buy this
продам
really
на
expensive
eBay.
sound gear, like borrow the money from my parents or something. I don't know. They
Дальше
will trust me.
потом
And then,
я
as soon as we're done
денег дам
filming,
в долг своим
I'm just gonna sell
родителям,
it on
денег или
eBay
нет, не знаю,
and
или
get that
дать
money
мне только,
back.
чтобы деньги не
Thanks,
потерять, да?
Mom, Dad.
Я отдам
Whoever's
своим родителям,
mom,
иначе я
dad.
потеряю.
Oh, no,
А потом,
my
когда
parents.
мне деньги понадобятся назад, я позвоню, скажу,
And
эй, мам,
we
верни
can
ко мне
get- we can
деньги,
get
деньги,
all
да,
the
да,
new-
как бы вот так,
all the
своего
new
рода
things
банк
we're gonna
такой,
get, where
да.
you get all these
И вот
things
эти
and
вот
just
новые
sell them
вещи,
after.
которые мне нужны для нового фильма,
So
я их
it's
возьму только для этого фильма, а потом их все распродам. Единственное, что вот еду, ну, к сожалению, вернуть нельзя, там, топливо, к примеру, нам нельзя вернуть, да, но смотрите, если действительно у вас маленькая команда, то на топливо вы тратите большие деньги. Есть такой менталитет, который я не могу понять. Если я даже денег и жду поговорку, я разговариваю с людьми, они говорят, мы делаем какое-то дешевое кино, на которое уходит 200 тысяч долларов, а я вообще не понимаю, почему люди снимают, простите, говно, которое стоит 200 тысяч долларов. Можно снять гораздо лучшие фильмы, которые не стоят совсем другие деньги. Я вообще не понимаю вот этого менталитета, что для того, чтобы снять хороший фильм, нужны сумасшедшие суммы денег. Нет, я этого не понимаю.
Monster invasion from outer space, and that's just horrible. So it's like always, my stories are done in a way that they can be made for $2,000.
Какие-то непонятно сделанные инопланетяне приезжают из космоса, пытаются Землю захватить, на этот фильм потратили миллионы долларов, а они вообще выглядят как ходячее дерьмо какое-то. Это не то, что я снимаю.
Right there, that's 60 years, 60, maybe 60. Anyway, that's that one there, that's the camera that we shot the film
Вот
with.
эта камера, та, с которой я, собственно, сделал кино.
So when you go into a store or somewhere public, they don't think you're making a movie with that camera, they think you're
когда вы
taking
покупаете эту
photos of
камеру,
your
они всего лишь
friends.
думают, вы будете фотографировать жизнь, снимать где-нибудь в барах, да, когда они думают, что вы камеру для каких-то тривиальных, глупых вещей. Никто не думает, что вы будете снимать кино глобального масштаба, имеется в виду глобальный показ на мире. Вот. Никто никогда не думает, что там какие-то деньги вовлечены, да, по словам киноактер.
And they say, okay, we want to see the script.
По словам киноактер подразумевается 100 рублей
And they saw the
в час,
script and they
800
felt that,
рублей в час. Да,
oh, it
нет,
put public transportation in a bad light. It made it look like this is something you didn't want to do with your life.
Мы снимаем кино в автобусах, в общественном транспорте, у нас освещения там нету, но мы снимаем это все, оплатим за что? За проезд.
We can do this. Just take the little camera and just go, why did I even need permission in the first place?
И теперь, подождите, зачем нужно разрешение, чтобы снимать, собственно, в автобусе, да? Мы просто едем в автобусе, мы заплатили свои копейки за проезд, и я говорю, мотор, и все, съемки пошли.
He's in the bus and he's like coughing, holding his stomach, someone, a nice
и тут, понимаете, вот он сидит в автобусе, он там кашляет чуть ли не до сблева, да, и он как бы играет, и не понимает, что он играет, да, вот. А в это время кто-то к нему подходит и говорит, эй, парень, ты в порядке, эй, парень, он говорит, да, я нормально, но мы пытаемся никому не говорить, что мы, собственно, снимаемся фильм. Вы знаете, в этом есть определенный прикол снимать в общественном месте, потому что никто не знает, что, собственно, мы снимаем. Дело в том, что если вы пойти куда-то и выскочить, очень много глупых людей также встречаются в общественных местах. Мы направляем, я направляю фильм на киноактера, да, пытаемся снимать, потом подойдет какой-нибудь ублюдок, начнет кривляться перед камерой, все, вся сцена убита, надо по новой снимать. Черт возьми. Приходится отрезать, и все, да. Потом с вами, помните, на заправке, когда он продолжал себе прохладительный напиток. Заправка 7-11 это очень популярная сеть заправок 7-11. И
it's kind of like I feel like my films are messing with society and corporations. I like to get the big names. So I didn't think in a million years 7-Eleven would let us shoot there, especially for free. They asked, we called them, one of our producers, an Australian role producer, called them, and the first question they asked is if we had insurance. And this is the first time, this is our first feature film, so I didn't know what insurance does. Does that mean if we burn the building down?
А мне говорят, ну, собственно, если вы здание сожгли, то инструкция заплатить за здание. Ну, что ж, я, конечно, вру, говорю, да, конечно, есть. А если меня спрашивают, ну, какой-то подтверждение, что есть страховка, я просто навру, скажу, что забыл или сказал, что оно в машине. А потом меня спрашивают, а если есть, где мой сценарий, просят показать, а я скажу, у нас клиент просто задницу забыл его или испортил, или там чернила вылил на него. То есть что-нибудь навру. Я не понимаю, почему мне задают такие вопросы, почему меня куда-то пускают или не пускают. Но, кстати, запомните, обратите внимание, на заправке 7-11 я снимал бесплатно. До сих пор не знаю, почему нас туда пустили, но нас туда пустили. Помните сцену, где вот он брал вот этот вот напиток, где он там его периодически попивал и так далее. Очень интересно, менеджер у нас не попросил никаких денег за это. А может быть, лили,
sounds crazy, but a lot of times we'll get there, you know, the day of, I'll say, who's going to play the clerk at 7-Eleven? I don't know. We'll just figure out when we get there. We'll figure out when we get there. Don't worry about it. Which is, I don't recommend
идем на
that.
новую сцену,
That's
будем снимать на
be a
заправке, да,
headache.
вместо нас говорит, кто сегодня будет
But we
клерком,
got there,
мы даже не знаем.
and one of
То есть
our
вот так вот
producers
приходили на место и тут же сами выбирали,
was like,
кого
I was
поставить.
like, Kevin, you could do it,
И
right?
тут я, допустим, говорю
And so
своему
I just asked
продюсеру,
the,
эй,
you know, the
Кевин,
clerk
ты
and
сегодня
someone, I
будешь
was like,
клерком
can we
на
get one of those
заправке.
vests?
А может быть, можно мы
He's like,
получим у
yeah,
вас
I'll get you a
клерка
vest.
с именем заправки? Он говорит,
Can
да, сейчас давайте.
you go
И, короче,
behind the
клерк,
counter? Yeah,
клерк
I'll
пойдет
just use this cash
зайдет, пойдет
register.
за
You
что
go
там
back
где-то
there.
постоит.
And so they let us just go
А мы
behind the register and
действительно
pretend like he
заходили
was
туда,
a
где регистр, где
cashier.
кассовый аппарат, и мой
And it's
продюсер
those
притворялся,
kind
что
of
он
moments when you're
кассир.
making a
Это
film
вот те
where like,
моменты,
you know, like a light bulb goes
когда ты
on.
делаешь
It's like,
реальный
you
фильм,
don't
живой
need
фильм,
to-
как будто шаровая
you don't
молния
need
у
to
тебя в
go
голове
by the
поселилась
normal
на
routes.
секунду.
You
Да.
can just kind of,
Она тебе
we
говорит о
probably
том,
could have
что
just gone in there and said, hey, can we make a
обычные
movie
маршруты
right
вот
now? And they would have
изготовления
been like,
фильма,
yeah, cool,
они
cool.
неприемлемы.
So-
Можно действительно находить
So for the
определенные
next
пути и
film,
делать это без денег. Это можно.
Buzzard, and we have scenes in McDonald's. I mean,
У нас
this movie
есть
is definitely like against
сцены в
the corporations.
Макдональдсе теперь.
This is a
Я
movie
вам,
about
я вам
someone
отвечаю за
scamming
базар.
and
Сцена,
conning their
снятая в
way
Макдональдсе, идет против корпоративных
against all
стандартов
of these major
Макдональдса. Точно я
corporations
вам
in
говорю.
America.
Скорее всего,
So
все
we're
то,
gonna,
что мы
you
делаем
know,
на
we're working
чьих-то
with both ways.
территориях, идет
We're gonna
против
just go film in
стандартов
McDonald's.
этих
We're
корпораций.
gonna go
Так
film
вот,
in Walmart.
когда мы снимаем
We're going to
Макдональдс, или мы
Walmart
снимаем вот
and
сетевой магазин
not ask permission.
товаров
So it kind of goes both ways. The story is about someone
Walmart.
kind of fighting against these corporations, and our production will be doing the same again.
Очень много с ними судятся, и
So,
мы там снимаем их.
I have right now, you know, producers. Our producers are kind of like looking for they go there to Walmart and
Наши
they just kind
продюсеры
of walk around for a while and see
заходят,
what time there's not a lot of people there,
смотрят и
and,
выбирают, собственно,
and what
время, когда
areas
недостаточно людей,
there's
когда
not a lot
нужно
of
пойти
people,
туда, где меньше людей,
and
чтобы
they
зайти
just come back and
быстренько
say, yeah, 8 o'clock,
снять нашу
there's a service
какую-то
desk
сцену.
in the back,
И тут мы быстренько
there's no one
доходим, что
there,
8
we
часов, там
totally
есть
shoot for like a half an hour,
стойка обслуживающего
and then all
персонала,
they do
и
is ask
примерно
us to
20 минут
leave.
народа нету, так, короче, пойдем,
so-
пойдем, бегом, бегом,
so
сегодня
while
на
I'm
цыпочках
out
пришли,
right
быстренько
now showing
20-25
Abe, I
минут
have
что-то
the
сняли, и в
producers
надежде на то,
out
что нас
just
просто перекады
looking
оттуда
for
не выгонят.
locations that
Да,
we could
действительно
film
так
without
приходится, что мы
permission.
заходим в магазин и ищем место, где
And
можно
that's a lot
снять
of what
без
my producers do.
разрешения.
A lot of
В этом и
times
весь
people,
прикол, да. И вот
people are
это
confused
наши
by the
продюсеры
idea of
делают. Наши
producer.
продюсеры заходят
And most
во всякие
producers are
сетевые
confused by the
магазины и
idea of
ищут,
producer
черт
as
возьми,
well.
где же можно, собственно,
They
снять на
think
халяву,
that
да.
it's,
Я вам скажу
you
так,
know,
с теми
someone in a
продюсерами, с
suit
которыми
and
я разговариваю,
tie
я
talks
рассказываю, как
good
это
and
делать,
about
да. Они,
business
собственно, не
and-
понимают саму концепцию
and,
того, что
you know,
мы
they live
выискиваем
in
места, где можно
Hollywood
снять на халяву.
Hills,
Многие
and
продюсеры
they,
действительно
you know,
этого не
they're-
понимают.
they know
Ну, типа, они
everybody,
думают, что за хер этот
but,
парень несет, да. А мы именно ищем
for
места,
my
куда
sort of
можно
films
зайти
and
и
the small
сделать
films that
что-то
I know are
без
made in
денег.
the U.S.,
Я вам скажу, для
the role of
моей
producer
категории фильмов
is
продюсер,
never consistent.
я думаю, что
It's-
даже не предусмотрено. И
what usually
роль
it is
продюсера в
someone
моем фильме,
who's
она не
just
совсем отвечает
a friend
роли
of yours,
продюсера в широко принятых
who's helping
фильмах.
out,
Он сидит, чувак, там в
who
галстуке, да, в
understands what
пиджаке,
you're doing and
какую-то
is
лапшу несет.
basically willing to work for free.
Продюсер, который вот продюсер
You
в
know, I
моем
see
мире, по сути,
my
это должен быть тот,
producers,
кто
they're
понимает
again
то, что
part
я
of, you know, our
делаю,
filmmaking band,
и с
they're the
огромным
ones that
желанием
they get it,
работать бесплатно.
and
Вот
they're
это вот
just, they
тип
understand what
продюсеров,
the
который в
idea
моей,
is,
ну,
so they will,
бригаде, наверное, да.
their
Но он
role is to
понимает, что,
go look for
собственно, продюсера,
locations.
его задача пойти на какую-то, ну,
They
потенциальную
try
площадку,
to
найти,
convince people to give us money, people that aren't
ну,
investors,
собственно, найти
they're
деньги,
just like
либо найти
maybe
возможность использовать
local
какие-то денежные
bars
средства,
or
либо
restaurants
найти возможность
who, for
для
this
нас
one,
заработать денег,
for this film,
не привлекая
we're telling people, just give us a
инвесторов.
business,
То
give
есть
us
это может быть бар,
$1,000,
это может быть магазин,
and,
это может быть что-то еще, и которому
and Joel wear your t-shirt
мы, наверное,
like all day during
подходим,
while they're making
мы
the film
подходим
and to
к
film
ним, мои
festivals.
продюсеры, вы знаете, что они говорят?
And
Они говорят вот
so
так,
I'll
дай нам
wear
$1000 от
somebody's
Джоэла, оденем
t-shirt,
футболку вашей
and,
компании, будете уносить день
and
или
then
2 дня, там
when we
не
show
вы
it,
скажете.
you know, at
Ну,
festivals,
тоже вот такие
I'll even
варианты
like
есть.
hand out cards to this.
Я даже,
I mean,
знаете,
I don't know why a local
я
festival, a
буду
local
даже
business would
раздавать
want
их
have their
бизнес-карточки,
business
если
advertised
они
in
мне дадут
Moscow, for
денег,
example,
да.
but they
Я не
seem to
знаю,
be
если
into
это-
it.
я не знаю,
So,
если
you know,
можно
we'll
будет делать в
just
Москве, но я
we
готов
say, because
раздавать
it's against, we're just like, you have to find your angles. We're going
Нужно просто
against the
найти
big
подход к каждому
corporations.
человеку.
We're all about,
Знаете,
you know,
мы, по
local,
сути,
local, local. I'm like,
объявляем
yeah, Of course, we love that idea. We're going to support that. So it's like you have to find like some kind of certain niche that you can convince people why would they give you money? You know, especially if they don't think they're going to make money back. Most independent films don't make any money.
у нас...
So if you can convince them of some kind of other motive,
Если
like,
просто
your story is
что
going
есть какие-то
against
другие
some
мотивации
kind
для
of
поступков, я
corporate
думаю,
mentality, just like
довольно-таки
you are.
успешно идти
You know, you
против,
started this business
ну,
to
наверное,
do
корпоративного
something different,
менталитета
and we're making this film to do something
в
different.
кинопродюсировании, и то можно
And
делать
that
действительно что-то,
kind of helps them
может быть, без
get
денег,
on board
или
and
по-другому
understand
сказать,
that.
делать
So we
уникальное
can
кино, не
raise
требующее
the small
денежных, больших
money,
денежных
we
вливаний.
can do it, and if we can't raise the money, we'll
Собственно,
figure out
если
a way
есть
to just make it
деньги,
happen.
понятно, мы
Again, this
деньги
is
потратим,
about,
а если
for me, at
нет
least,
денег, мы будем искать
not
любой
waiting,
способ,
not waiting
чтобы
for
снять,
things to
ну, наверное, без денег,
come to
да,
you,
и
but
будем,
just
собственно, молиться,
steal it if
чтобы у
need
нас это
be,
получилось.
and do it your way. I feel like I've been talking forever.
Что-то, я думаю, как будто я базарю без остановки целую вечность уже.
I have been talking forever.
О, кстати, знаете, я действительно базарил целую
Like I
вечность.
said, this is very unique. I've never had a chance to
Это
explain
очень
my
уникальная для меня ситуация.
entire
Вы
story.
никогда не...